Mystery
in Our History podcast.
Ready to go?
Yep.
All right. Hey, everybody, and thanks for listening to the Mystery in Our History podcast, where we take an in-depth look at all things urban legend and conspiracy theory related and how they came to be. I'm J.R. Supa, and joining me as always is Chris Berry.
Why, hello.
So, this is the last episode in our Alien series. It brings a tear to my eye. But, I mean, it's the last episode for the Alien series for now.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be spin-offs and
exactly
related theories.
Well, and we have some shorts that we may cover too that, wouldn't have been a full episode, but we've covered a lot of information so far in this series, and quite frankly, we've barely even scratched the surface as far as alien lore and the history of aliens and their interactions with us Earthlings, allegedly. But we're going to end this series with the ending to the Ilkley Moor alien and a visit from the Men in Black.
And joining us on Skype is Will Smith and Tommy Lee, right?
We don't have Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones. We discussed this.
I thought you had them.
I reached out to their people. No one got back to me.
No response.
No
Weird.
response. So, as far as the Men in Black go, this is probably the part of alien lore that's the most shrouded in mystery. But we're going to pick up right where we left off last episode with the Ilkley Moor alien. And then we'll get into more encounters with the Men in Black and some speculation, etc., as we go on. So, in 1987, a policeman named Philip Spencer claims to have taken a picture of an alien being. Now, if this is true, it is one of the only few in existence. The scary Ilkley Moor in Yorkshire, England, would hold the secret of the strange creature encountered one early morning. Spencer was frightened, but he ran after the creature, taking one photograph. And through hypnosis, again, hypnosis comes back into play, he would recall an odd flying object and an alien abduction.
It's funny to me too, because it's people like Spencer, it's people like Sergeant Steelnuts from last episode.
Yep, balls of steel.
These servicemen who really have these encounters. It just kind of solidifies my belief in there, because what do you gain from lying about this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not going to get the fame you're looking for. You're going to be looked at like a crackpot. So
it's not. Yeah. It's definitely not helping their careers in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
It may be like putting them in the spotlight or the limelight or whatever you want to call it for, a short period of time, but it's definitely doing more harm than good to these people.
Right, exactly.
So, what motivation do they have to come out and say this stuff? Now, again, I think as far as a lot of this alien stuff goes, I think this is definitely the most credible type of witness, right? I
agree.
An armed forces person or a police officer of some sort. I think those are the most credible witnesses. But at the same time, I just don't know. Because there's so much.
Right, and credible to the point of they're
no reason
letting
to fabricate.
Right, but they do have reason to be quiet if told so. So it's kind of one of those
Yeah. Well, this case was taken under further review by a well-known investigator named Peter Hugh. And the case concerning Philip Spencer, who, while visiting the Ilkley Moor in 87, claims to have seen a UFO take off on top of getting a picture and being abducted. He's also now claiming we saw it take off. So he was allegedly abducted. Allegedly. But he was able to take a blurry yet compelling photograph of the alien being. Now, we'll throw this photograph up on YouTube for any of the people watching on YouTube. And this is one of a few photographs taken of an alien considered legitimate by alien researchers.
So that's fair. Listen, again, going back to like the credibility, like the credibility of Spencer. That's fair. But man, I pulled up this photo and it was kind of dog shit, if you ask me. Like it could have been a potato, a rock, like anything for all we know.
There
like,
is clearer footage of Bigfoot.
Right, exactly. So like, I'm not saying I don't believe him, but to say it's proof is pretty far-fetched.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, you remember the leaky pipe making the Jesus silhouette on the wall,
yes.
and calling that the stigmata? It's just like,
it's definitely not, at first glance anyway, it's definitely not something that you can look at and go, that's definitely an alien, and as a result, we should believe in aliens.
Right. I looked at it and was just like,
Yeah. But
I've seen scarier pictures on Reddit or whatever.
Now, Hughes' investigation uncovered the fact that Spencer suffered from missing time, which is a typical component of alien abduction, and this fact was made known through his hypnosis session. So Spencer unwillingly underwent medical testing while on the UFO, according to his recollection, and was warned by alien beings of a pending disaster on Earth if we did not change our ways.
I know, dude. These guys like keep telling us they have their best interest in heart. We're just frigging it up left and right. We're just blowing each other up and nuking the skies, and they're just like, "Can you guys stop?"
Now, additional details of the description of an alien being were also revealed. Spencer described them as being about 4 feet tall, with large eyes, huge hands, a small mouth, and 3 fingers on each hand, which matched the photograph that Spencer had taken on the moor in December.
Yeah, it's funny because that description checks out across other like first-hand descriptions or first-hand encounters. But again, if you were just like, that's what the picture's showing me, I'm just gonna say no way, dude. I can't make out any of that in this picture.
Yeah, it's like it's as far as the lore goes, sure.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at the picture, like if you're telling me that his description checks out because this is what we're seeing in the picture, come on.
No, dude, not even close.
Well, it doesn't end there. So Spencer had a second encounter. However, this encounter was not with an alien. About a month or so later, in January, Spencer would have a visit from the Men in Black. So on a Friday evening, Spencer heard a knock at his front door. He opened it and saw 2 men of middle age. They were dressed in typical Men in Black suits. So black suit, white shirt, black tie, sometimes black hat.
Sunglasses, maybe.
Right, depending on the time of day, or not. Both men showed Spencer their, quote, Ministry of Defense identification badges. Humorously, their names were Jefferson and Davis. I guess those are just, those are so generic.
Yeah, that can't be a coincidence either. You know what I mean? Those are definitely cover names.
Right.
Also,
and like if you look at the movies, it's like I'm Agent Smith and this is Agent Smith.
Right, exactly. Also, they don't report to the Ministry of Defense. Come on. The Ministry of Defense reports to them.
Please.
Like, they're above them or don't even have oversight.
I was going to say, like, even if they're, or if they're just in any kind of government thing, like, they could just be some weird, like, off-the-books thing.
Right.
So, Spencer, not knowing what to expect from the 2 visitors, invites them inside, because that's a logical thing to do.
Yeah.
And the 3 sat down for a talk. So, one of the alleged agents, Jefferson, told him that they had come to discuss his encounter the month before in the Ilkley Moor. This took Spencer by surprise, since he'd only told 3 people, all civilians, about what occurred that night in December.
That's so wild, too, because, like, either somebody's, like, ratting on him or just, like, knew that he saw that, or rumors travel fast in Yorkshire. So it's, like, one of the 3, dude. Like, what's going on there?
Those English, they like to gossip.
That they want that juicy gossip.
Well, so it turns out the two men were very well versed in the case and asked him a number of questions about what happened in December, and not sure how to react, and also afraid to offend them because, according to them, they were government officials. He told them about the photograph he had taken.
Oh man, womp womp.
Yeah.
Like, why would you tell them openly? I wonder, however, like, since they knew about the encounter, I wonder if they knew he had the pic and they were just like kind of like testing his honesty, like kind of
Right.
seeing like, is this guy going to be forthcoming, or do we got to drag this pic out of him, and what else do we need to drag out of him? Like,
Right. So it's funny you should say that, because Spencer, not wanting to have the photo confiscated, now he chooses to lie.
Oh,
to
come
the
on,
two
Spencer.
men. I know, right? He's like, oh, no, I took a photograph, but I don't have it. So he told them that he gave the photograph to a friend of his. And in fact, Hugh actually had the photograph and was having it analyzed at the time. So
Okay.
it's not a lie, but it's also a lie.
Yeah, it's a thinly veiled lie.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and almost immediately after hearing that, the two men seemed to just completely lose interest in questioning Spencer anymore.
Yeah. That's not a pic of a potato, dude. It's
That's what I'm saying.
like, you know, if they just want that pic, it's not a giant rock or an oversized potato. Not
So
at all.
if this is true, right, like if all
Right,
of this is
yeah.
actually true and all of this went down the way it went down, according to them, then yeah, he got a picture of something.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So the two men from the, quote, Ministry of Defense left as quickly as they had arrived. And it seemed that the two men in black, even though they had knowledge of the Ilkley events, did not realize that there had been a photo taken until Spencer told them so, according to Spencer.
Okay.
Okay. When they realized that the image of the alien was not immediately accessible to them, they had no more business with Spencer.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so strange. All business with these two.
Yeah.
So remind me to never invite some men in black to a party. Like,
No, I don't ever want to see anybody associated with them at any point
Tommy
in time,
Lee?
never mind a party.
sorry, buddy,
Yeah.
you gotta stay home.
Will Smith can stay home, but not because he was a Men in Black. He just stay home because of that friggin' terrible Aladdin performance. Just stay inside.
Gonna hit him with that.
Call it quits,
That's
bro.
fair. I never saw it, but
Oh.
probably for the better.
Well, A, you tried to duplicate Robin Williams, and B, the CGI was atrocious.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Completely off topic, though. Anyway, the MIB tends to show up without warning, usually or almost always as a result of someone seeing or encountering a UFO. And once they start talking to people about the incident, it draws the attention of, once these people start talking about the encounter that they experienced, it starts drawing the attention of the Men in Black, and they come around and start asking questions themselves.
I wonder.
So,
I wonder if they like sense that, or if they just like get a report, or like, you know what I mean? Maybe like, are they psych? Like, how do they know?
it's probably
Like, how do they know?
NSA. I mean, if they're a
Right?
government organization, it's got to be like NSA related, where like everything's tapped. They can just listen in on when I'm like talking to my Alexa, and
But this
You know
is
what I mean?
'87 too. You gotta remember.
well, yeah, but at the same time, like, who's to say something?
phones weren't tapped, or
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, who's, you know what I mean? Maybe not as easily or as advanced, but if this is supposed to be some super advanced government organization,
right.
who's to say
Yo.
they don't have that technology?
This is a tad off topic, but a little bit on the two. I'm rewatching the X-Files currently,
Oh,
and
nice.
anytime someone shows up from the NSA, and it's like, you know, it's early '90s show, so they show up and you're just like, the fuck did these guys do back then? Like, what was your job? You weren't listening. You weren't reading my emails. You weren't listening to my smartphone all day.
What is it that you do?
Yeah, like exactly.
All right, well, we're going to jump to Canada now. We're going to
Hey.
go from the UK to Canada. And there's actually a video that was captured of two men in black who allegedly entered a hotel in Canada and started asking questions about one of the hotel employees. And you'll see, again, if you're watching on YouTube, that photos, I have a still of those two men from that video coming in. Now, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, you just inhaled really rapidly.
I goofed it, yeah.
Got me.
I'm just goofing.
Through a deek. All right, well, the stories say that the employee in question had recently seen a UFO and had been telling others about his experience. And not long after, these two men show up at his place of employment. Now, lucky for him, they came in on his day off.
Yeah. That's funny, too, because, like, you mentioned the video, and, like, I've seen the video from, like, a while ago, and, like, pulled it up even today just to, like, refresh it. And, like, if it wasn't for these firsthand stories of the other employees, you would just think these are two guys, like, visiting for a funeral, in town for a funeral kind of thing. You know, they're just two guys in black suits.
Yeah, you can't tell anything from the footage other than it's just two guys in black suits.
Yeah.
But that's why we have witness accounts.
Yeah, exactly.
And according to the witness accounts, the men were asking people not only about the employee in question, but also about conspiracies in general. Now, they had, according to their description from these people that were questioned by them, they had no eyebrows or eyelashes. Creepy. Strange hypnotic eyes. Heads that looked as though they were bald and being disguised by wigs. And their clothes seemed to be meant for fitting in, but somehow were just enough kind of out of place to raise the alarm bells in these people's minds. Now, these two men were definitely caught on camera. We have that footage. The question is whether they were a clandestine government agents, beings from another world in disguise, or simply the product of a clever hoax. But regardless of the answer, there is something hair-raising, pun intended, about the two men in suits walking into a hotel in the middle of the day and asking strange questions about one of their employees and then leaving as mysteriously as they came.
So, I don't know if anybody's ever watched the show Fringe back in the late 2000s, in the early 2010s.
I might have seen one or two episodes.
There was a bald man who was very MIB-ish. Like, the description is spot on. He was bald, no eyebrows, like, had the suit going on. And I never actually finished it, so I don't really know what his deal was. But, like, again, it's just like, what are these guys? Are they disguised aliens? Are they time travelers? Like, who are they?
Yeah, and that's the thing about the Men in Black is that there's so much just shrouded nothing.
Right?
Like, you can have as many, like, we're gonna go through more stories, but, like, there are no definitive answers.
We need to capture one.
Yeah, there we go.
Put out an MIB trap.
Well, we're going to jump back across the pond now, if you will, to jolly old England, back in the 1960s, to Jim Templeton. And Jim took a photo of his daughter near Burr Marsh, in England, and before long it made big news. Some of you might have heard of this photo. It's called the Solway Firth Spaceman photo. If you search that, it's SOLWAY FIRTH, Solway Firth. And again, if you're on YouTube, you'll see a picture of it up on the screen. But it captures what looked like an unexplained figure dressed somewhat like an astronaut in the background of the picture he took from his daughter. Stranger than the photo is the experience that Templeton had shortly after he took it. So he was at work when a car arrived with two men who claimed to be working for the government. Yep, red flags already.
Right, exactly.
Even though their badges pointed to no specific government agency. Templeton agreed to get in the car with them and drive back to the marsh to answer their questions, because he's a smart man.
Right, that's what I'm thinking. It's like, oh yeah, no, brilliant move. Get in a car with two government officials who refuse to identify themselves.
No badges that actually say where they're from.
Right, no branch, nothing, and then go to a marsh. Like, come on, man. Like, I'd be afraid they were gonna feed me to gators and like
Disappear much?
after. Yeah, exactly. Like they got what they want out of me. I'm gator food.
Yeah.
No witnesses.
Never leave witnesses. That's the motto. That's the
Exactly.
motto when we play Red Dead Redemption 2.
No witnesses. Even you.
Yeah. So I guess the questions were pretty strange, apart from the expected ones like where it had happened and whether there were any other people around that witnessed it. They also wanted to know about the weather conditions at that time of day and the behavior of the animals in the area. And Templeton had told the men that the domestic animals in the area had seemed scared on the day in question and huddled together for protection. How many domestic animals, are around this place is what I want to know. Like, you just see herds of, and like, I guess, I mean, it's England and it's not like in the central city of like London or Manchester or anything like that. So like domestic animals could mean like a herd of sheep.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's a weird one.
But I thought that was just kind of weird. Like when I found that specific detail.
Yeah. It's tying back to the is it the Rendlesham Forest?
Yeah, Rendlesham Forest. Yeah, the
animal
animal
frenzy, and that's just, it's so weird. Just
yeah, I mean the themes
give off that vibe.
Yeah, the themes keep popping up, and actually this is taking place before Rendlesham Forest too. So
You're right. Yeah.
you know what I mean. So the themes keep happening, but it's still kind of weird.
Yeah.
But it was after stating this that the men became much more hostile towards Templeton. Evidently, they don't like when animals get frenzied.
Yeah. Right.
And so now they started questioning the validity of his story. And of course, Templeton would not go to all the trouble to simply admit defeat, even if his story wasn't entirely honest, and claimed that he was indeed telling the truth as far as he knew it.
Oh.
So the men seemed to be unconvinced and headed back to their car, and they drove off and simply left the baffled photographer in the dust to find his own way home.
Dude, that's so rude. Like, you don't even give the dude a ride home. Like, he's definitely Gator Chow at that point.
He just got picked up, brought back to this friggin' place.
Yeah,
and
right?
Pissed off the guys that gave him a ride, so they were like, nah, fuck you. Find your own way home.
Dude, after hearing this, like, I would consider Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones coming to a party. But these other guys, no thank you.
Just assholes.
And that's saying something, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's his own damn fault, number one, if he got in the car with them. Like, it's his fault he got stranded. But now, here's the other thing, is like, you get in the car with these two guys, they bring you out here, and then they leave you. How do you prove that?
Right. And
how do you
again,
prove,
this is...
you know what I mean? Like, how do you prove that the Men in Black actually came and brought you? Like, did anybody see you get in the car with them and go? Did anybody, see you while you were out there with them? Like, I couldn't find any corroboration other than his story.
Right. And also, there's just no way to get anyone to come pick you up. There's not a payphone at this marsh, I'm guessing.
Well, let's talk about Men in Black case from these United States.
Yeah, just a little bit north.
Just a little bit north of you and I in the great state of Maine, where Dr. Herbert Hopkins was working as a consultant on a UFO case. One evening, Dr. Hopkins received a call on the phone from someone purporting to be an activist in the UFO community, asking him if he could visit Hopkins to discuss the case. And only minutes later, the guy arrived.
Oh, man. I think I've heard this one before, and if I'm thinking of it, it's, like, creepy, but, like, not in a fun way. Like, I mean,
it starts
I'm
off
definitely
creepy.
Gonna die way. Yeah.
It starts off with, hey, do you mind if I come and talk to you about this case you're working on? Sure. 3 minutes later, knock on the door.
Yeah.
So, like,
I guess
this person's clearly just, like, sitting outside this guy's house and, like, was, like, waiting and just counting the seconds and being like, that's enough time. I'll go knock on the door now.
it's either that or he knew parents weren't home and he was ready to smash. So, He's a horror. Lightning speed.
It's fucking terrible. All right. So the man was wearing a black suit and tie and had a very unusual facial appearances. No hair or eyebrows again. An extremely pale figure. Hopkins' dog began barking erratically the minute the man entered the home. After the bizarre visitor was finished questioning him about the UFO case, the visit got even stranger. And here is how it went according to the website The Night Sky. The man in black informed Hopkins that there were 2 coins in Hopkins' pocket, which was correct, and then asked him to remove one. Hopkins complied and held the coin, a shiny new penny, in the palm of his hand. The man in black told Hopkins to watch the coin closely. After a few moments, the coin took on a silvery appearance and then appeared to be going out of focus. It then began to fade and eventually disappeared altogether. The man in black informed Hopkins that the coin would never be seen, quote, on this plane, end quote, again. He then inquired as to whether Hopkins was familiar with alleged UFO abductee Barney Hill. Remember Betty and Barney?
There he is.
Hopkins replied that he had heard of Hill, but was under the impression that he had died in the not-too-distant past. And the man in black informed Hopkins that was correct. Barney didn't have a heart, said the MIB. Just like you no longer have a coin. It should be noted that Barney Hill actually died of a cerebral hemorrhage. But the man in black then gently suggested that Hopkins destroy any material he had related to the UFO case.
Jeez, dude. Like, speak no further. I'm over here like, yeah, okay, you got it. Like, I don't need another demonstration.
Right.
Can I maybe make the fire right here in my living room? Will the smoke
would you like
bother
to watch
you?
me burn it?
Yeah, like, I know you don't have eyelashes, so we'll just, take cover there. But, damn, dude, it's just like, I didn't know that they spoke to him about Hill. Like, that's a whole nother level of,
Like
what the hell?
He used Hill as a scare tactic.
Yeah. Wow.
Now, and I imagine because of the difference in his analogy and the way Hill actually died, I'm assuming he was not involved in Hill's death or was not involved with Betty or Barney Hill at all, as far as the Men in Black goes. But I think he was just making a statement, like making a point.
Maybe.
Of like, listen, this guy's dead, and he was a big UFO guy, so you need to shut up.
As far as we know, anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, Hopkins, obviously extremely shaken by the encounter, as I'm sure any of us would be, followed the advice of the man and burned all the files he had related to the case.
Smart man.
Kind of a bitch move, but I'm sure I would have done the same thing.
Oh, 100%.
Now, while he had repeated phone troubles after this incident, and the phone company said his line had been tampered with. Maybe tapped?
Maybe.
But he never saw the man again.
That's so weird. Yeah, dude, I ain't messing with that. Like, the penny trick, that's good enough for me.
Yeah, that would have been plenty to just say, listen, what do you want me to do?
Yeah, that's obviously something supernatural and just no thank you. I mean, I ain't messing with you anymore.
Ugh, that one gets me. Like, that one's just creepy.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
Like, I did not care for that during the research part of it, during the actual reading of it. That was one of those that kind of just was like, eh.
Yeah.
So let's get into something a little more fun in nature, I think. And the only reason I say that is because we're going to talk about Dan Aykroyd.
Hey, Dan Aykroyd.
Because evidently Dan Aykroyd had a run-in with the Men in Black.
Yeah, it's on top of other things, I mean.
Right. So Dan Aykroyd has come forward with his story about how he was taping a show about the paranormal. he stepped out to take a phone call from Britney Spears, according to him, which I guess, I mean, at the time, sure, why not?
Yeah,
who was
checks
asking
out.
him to appear on Saturday Night Live with her. And he noticed a black Ford parked across the street. A tall man stepped out of the Ford and stared him down. Aykroyd turned away for a moment, then he turned back to find that the man and the car had completely vanished.
Yeah. I mean, he just phased into the other plane, and that's just going to be my new blanket excuse for everything. It's like, can't find that sock match in the laundry? Well, Men in Black zapped it to another dimension. They're on to me.
Right, exactly.
They heard me talking.
So there was actually a interview, like television interview, conducted with Dan Aykroyd, where he discussed this particular interaction. So we're going to play a few minutes from that for you now, and then we'll come right back.
And I was outside, and Britney Spears called me because she wanted me to appear on Saturday Night Live with her. And so I was outside having a cigarette, the phone rang. Oh, Britney, how you doing? Oh, sure, of course I will. I turned away like this. I turned back, and there was a black Ford across the road, a black Ford sedan. And I was trying to look at the plate, and the plate seemed kind of like fuzzy, and I was, definitely a police car. And two guys were there, and a big, big, tall guy got out of the back seat. And he stood in the street on 42nd Street it was. We were at 42nd Street and 8th Avenue. And he looked right at me. And literally, I mean, I was on the phone. Hey, oh, sure, of course I'd love the show. Saw the Ford, went back like this, turned back like a half second later, and it was gone. And that car did not go past me. It did not make a U-turn, because I would have seen 42nd Street. I would have seen that thing take a U-turn and go away. That car vanished. That car was a cloaked vehicle of some type. And whether this was like a warning to me, because the guy got out of the back seat, gave me a real dirty look. That car vanished. I know what I saw. And, it was just this fast. It was, oh, hi, Brittany, sure. Oh, of course, I'd love to. Guy gives me a dirty look. Oh, well, sure. Car gone. That's what happened. And then 2 hours later, we were told we were not to continue taping, and the show was canceled, and none of them would air. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Was that an MIB experience? Black helicopters, military abductions that happen. Sometimes people are taken, and they talk about then being visited by military personnel and debriefed about their abduction. Was it a technology associated with some of these beings that are visiting that wanted to warn me off, or that wanted to give me verification that I was on the right track? I don't know. But I do know I did turn back a second later, and it takes so long for an automobile accelerating from 0 to 40 miles an hour to reach the corner of 8th Avenue and 42nd Street going past me, and then pulling a U-turn and going out towards Times Square. I would have seen that car. And I looked around. I mean, I was looking for that then. It was gone. So, I don't know. The tapes exist. I have them. We're going to try to repackage them. We might put them out on DVD.
So as Aykroyd said, after he finished his phone call, he returned to the studio to learn that his show had been canceled, and then he was ordered to stop filming immediately.
Jesus, what was he making? Firefly? Christ, that was quick.
Right? And and he said, I want to somehow get this out there, whether it's on YouTube or whatever. But, I mean, essentially you're saying, there's a lot of doubts about Aykroyd and,
right,
his claim that he was involved with the Men in Black in some way. But, as you heard Aykroyd say, quote, he knew what he saw. And so that he's maintaining that there was some kind of connection between those guys, the Men in Black that he saw, and the end of his paranormal show.
Now, I'm going to go on like a small tirade here, but
sure.
People usually joke about how Dan Aykroyd destroyed his own career. It went crazy over nothing, but honestly, I really just don't buy it. And the reason why I say that is, why would he knowingly talk about something like this, knowing pretty much damn well it's going to ruin his career, when he knows people don't want him talking about it.
Right.
So again, what's the motive that he has for this destroying his own career? It's almost unheard of now.
Yeah.
It's funny because, like, again, I bet he really saw something, and something that they didn't want him yapping about. Because
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
been
it
shown.
had to be like in the research or something that he was doing for that show.
Exactly. And like you can see examples of it now of somebody basically going, and I'm saying this word for lack of a better term, but going crazy, in Hollywood and still come back. Amanda Bynes was one of them. She suffered a schizophrenic break and aired it all out on Twitter in 2012.
Yeah, she went pretty off the deep end.
Yeah, and people were making fun of her, and they were like, "Oh, she lost her mind," and like really going in hard on her. And then it turns out she was schizophrenic. So she's taken some time out of the spotlight, about 6 years now, and just last year in 2018, she's just starting to come back. Had an interview about how she's excited to get back into acting and all that kind of stuff. So it really does show you can just come back.
Yep.
And again, love him or hate him, Kanye West is one of those people.
Hate him.
A lot of people do, and I understand. I personally love him.
He's such an ass.
I know, I get it. I completely understand that one. But again, he's been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and took almost all of 2017. Yeah, all of 2017, he took off from doing tours, making music. He basically stepped out of the spotlight that entire year. Came back mid 2018. Did like a small album, if you will. I think it's an EP technically, but basically he started taking better care of himself, both physically and spiritually. But like again, it's just like Aykroyd. People just call him a crackpot, and he's virtually unheard of today. I mean, he's still doing cameos here and there, but nothing to the extent of like Dr. Stantz and Ghostbusters.
Right. He's not. Yeah. He's not who he once was.
Yeah, it's just so weird to me.
And there's no point in him like ruining his career, because his career was not going great when he had this paranormal show. It wasn't like it was the 80s and he was, one of the Ghostbusters. This is like Dan Aykroyd not really getting a whole lot of phone calls, and he's got this paranormal show that he wants done.
And he just sells tequila now.
Right. Exactly. But, going back for a second on a completely different tangent, have you ever watched on Netflix David Letterman's new show that he has on Netflix?
No.
I think it's called My Next Guest.
Yeah, yep. Very
good show. There's an episode with Kanye West.
I was actually reading about that when I was doing the research on him.
It's so bad and so good all at the same time.
Yeah.
Because Letterman is such a professional. Like, he is such a professional interviewer, right? So like Kanye West is up there and he's talking, and Letterman's getting him to open up about a bunch of stuff and talk about the bipolar, talk about all this stuff. And I don't remember exactly how it went down, but either Letterman made a joke or somebody in the audience made a joke that Kanye didn't like. Yeah,
that sounds right.
Because you could see Kanye's face, and you could see Kanye was trying to... Kanye West, outside of music, is that kid that wants to be cool and make fun of people, and then the second he gets made fun of, he's not having fun. He's not having fun. And so you see this. Like, if you watch that episode, you'll see this happen. You can actually look at his face and watch him deteriorating. But Letterman is so good that he was able to nip it in the bud and just bring him to a whole different subject matter to sweep it under the rug. And if he didn't, it would have been a disaster.
Yeah. No, I agree. And that's just that's unfortunately the sad reality of having a disorder like that too. That could, I mean, I know you can naturally be like that, obviously. Just being that kid is just like, oh, don't make fun of me, that's not funny. But that also comes with the territory of the disease.
But that has nothing to do with what we were talking about. It was just something that I'd bring up. Highly recommend that episode, if not the whole show.
I'll check it out. I mean, I'm a fan, so I'll check them out.
But there are countless other stories out there about the Men in Black. I mean, there's just like everything else in alien lore. There's too much for us to cover, especially just in one episode.
Yeah, you could really just talk about it forever.
Right. But I mean, there's everything from radio personalities harassed by, quote, journalists for talking about UFOs, UFO researchers harassed at home by the real Men in Black, you know, very similar to Hopkins. You know, the stories of these encounters are, again, too numerous to list all of them. And just like the rest of alien lore, just, you know, shrouded in mystery.
Yeah, it's like not only is there so much, but there's so many different accounts and different topics even with it. Just
right.
It's like sub pockets.
Yeah. And, you know, depending on who you ask, the Men in Black are either another nutty UFO conspiracy, or they're a part of a secret government agency that are designed to prevent the public from learning about UFOs, or in some cases, they're actual aliens disguised as humans to try and remove the memory of them being spotted because they like fell asleep at the wheel or something, and remove the memory of the person who actually saw them.
Yeah.
But the Men in Black always appear unannounced. They're always usually clad in black business suits, and they warn people to give up their research on UFOs, or usually they're going to have to face dire consequences. And in many cases, the Men in Black have also seen aliens in some accounts, and they're aliens themselves or some form of demonic supernaturals.
Right. Yeah, it's, to me, I just chalk it up as like the Men in Black are just, it's basically just the cigarette man from X-Files. Like, it's just, you're getting too close to the truth, and we gotta cut that shit out now.
Exactly. Or if you look at our logo, that's the Men in Black.
Yeah.
You know, that's why we picked that logo. Picked that logo for the Men in Black, and we picked that font for the X-Files.
God, I love that show.
It is a really good show. So, but now the question is, really, why would the government want to suppress information about UFOs? Right?
Yeah.
Well, the theory, the mainstream theory is, it's because aliens are closer to us than you think. They might actually be everywhere, much like now the Men in Black movies suggest. And if ordinary citizens realized just how real the quote-unquote threat was, there would be mass panic and a breakdown of the social order.
I got a joke here.
That's a little far-fetched for me, but I get it.
If you ever see somebody walking around looking like Johnny Knoxville asking for sugar water, you ask some questions. Sugar water. God.
Water.
God, dude, there are people who like theorize that there are like human alien hybrids just like walking amongst us now. It's just such a deep rabbit hole.
That's not a rabbit hole we're going down today.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's a lot. That's a lot to get into.
Yes, it is.
Now, some folklorists claim that the whole idea of the Men in Black is itself a form of mass panic or psychological drama due to suggestibility and the willingness to believe in aliens. Others, however, insist the Men in Black are part of a real government agency, and it's designed to prevent the public from learning, quote, the truth about UFOs, end quote.
Yeah. And, like, that's the thing is, like, we'll leave that up to you guys to decide. My goal here, and I'm sure as well as JR's goal here, is to provide you guys with different accounts, the facts that are known, information that's just kind of known, and you guys make your own decisions, you know? That's right. That's the whole thing.
Absolutely. And to that, that's where we are going to leave you this week, because that is all for this week's episode and for our Alien series, at least for the time being. So thank you all very much for listening. If you have any urban legends or conspiracy theories that you think we should cover, feel free to email us at 4guysmedianetwork@gmail.com. Please make sure to subscribe and rate us on iTunes. Click the like and subscribe buttons on YouTube on the Four Guys Media Network page, or check us out on SoundCloud by searching MIOH Pod, all one word. Thanks again for listening, and we will see you next time on the Mystery in Our History podcast. Bye.
See ya.